Welcome back into another episode of George in the Jungle, presented as always by Remington Tavern, coming at you live from the Cincy Light Studios. Remington Tavern can be found at 8892 Glendale Milford Road, 45140, where they have their daily happy hour from 3 to 7 p.m., $5 bourbon whiskey Wednesdays, bottle cap bonanza Thursdays from 7 to 9 p.m. You can check them out on Instagram at RemyTavCincy or follow them on Facebook. While you're there, be sure to grab yourself an ice cold Cincy Light on tap or in a can, whichever way you want to take it. Support the people who support us, and have yourself a good evening at Remington Tavern with an ice cold Cincy Light. George, Cincy Light might be the only good thing right now happening in the city of Cincinnati. I mean, sure, the Bengals got to win, but the season's already over. That's fine. UC Sports, the football team's got a chance to at least end the season on a positive note. We'll see what happens there. However, we'll get more into that in a little bit, but we will start with, I guess, the biggest story of the last week, as the return of Jizzle James came a night after we did our last show against Alabama State, where 88 blew out poor Alabama State, 88-51, and then there was the game on Sunday, which ended up in a close game somehow, some way, and Cincinnati loses 68-65 to Clemson in a game that they were down 27 at one point in the first half. First off, I want to get your takeaway on Jizzle James being back with the team. Then I want your thoughts on what they did to Alabama State before whatever that was in Greenville, South Carolina.
Well, I will say Jizzle looks better than I thought he would. He doesn't look like he's missed a lot of time. I thought he came in and played very well against Alabama State, and he certainly looked like he belonged in the game Sunday, and actually seemed to help the Bearcats a little bit when he was just able to settle some things down. He had a rough start, if I remember right. There was a missed alley-oop attempt and something else he did. He may have turned it over. But he's looked pretty good, better than I expected. And I'll be honest, I certainly didn't expect him to be back and playing this year. I didn't. And I know there's a lot of factors that led to this point. I still don't know if it's the right thing to do. I know there's a lot of people probably more in tune with the situation that maybe have a better handle on that, but it seems awfully quick to me for all this to happen and him come out of what he came out of and now back on the team and playing, Division I college basketball. That's a lot to put on someone, but maybe it's his happy place.
Even all that aside, I know I didn't expect him to be playing at this level already against Alabama State. He logged, 20 minutes, 16 points, efficient, 6 of 9, 3 of 5 from 3, hit his only free throw, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, only 2 turnovers, a steal. Pretty good night. And then against Clemson on Sunday, he was already at 29 minutes, 10 points, only 3 of 9 from the field. Not great, but 1 of 2 from 3, 3 of 4 from the stripe, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 turnovers in that one, a foul. But he still looked better than what Kirk Reese gave you when he was on the floor.
Without a doubt, and that does not take much. He has not been good this year. I don't know what's going on. I don't know. I've seen that kid play well in the past. I've seen him look good in the past, but I haven't seen a whole lot of it this year while he's been with UC. And the turnovers are a big problem with him. Obviously, the shooting has been horrendous for him. So I don't think it's a coincidence that he was on the pine when the Bearcats made that big turnaround on Sunday.
Yeah.
And his defense has been disappointing.
I don't know that
he was ever known as a defensive demon, but it's not good.
No, it's been a liability.
Yep.
Against Alabama State, though, you finished 88-51. You're led by Baba Miller's 26-14. Jizzle, your second highest scorer, and then Shauna Bayev. A little different story as you had, I think 11 guys playing that game. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 guys because Grant Derbyshire also got in some garbage time. The walk-on. But against Alabama State, I mean, very, very different story than Clemson, but you had hope, right? You see them finally take care of a team that they're supposed to take care of. You undress them 88-51. It was never close, and we got to see the bench empty. We saw plenty of minutes logged by guys on the bench. I mean, Halvin Zella had 15 in this one. Jordy Rodriguez had 11. Keyshawn Tillery had 9. Nobody played more than 27 minutes, and that's because Baba Miller had 26-14. Hard to take him off the floor.
Right. No, he was very impressive in that game. It was Alabama State, but and they've shown glimpses of having a pulse and playing some teams fairly tough. But UC certainly took care of business, and Miller took care of business, and he had – how many dunks did he have in that game? Was it
9?
9?
I think it was 9.
Crazy. I mean, I watched the game. I was there, and it just seemed like he was constantly flying at the rim, and several of those were impressive. That was good to see, and it's that's what you're supposed to do against Alabama State. But good teams find a way to kind of bounce off that and come out and maybe play much better in the first half than what they've been playing lately. And on Sunday, UC proceeds to deliver probably the worst first half of the season.
Yeah, I mean, it was the fact that you could make an argument that there was one other half. It's terrible that the season has already had 2 halves that were.
That's the thing. We were actually arguing amongst ourselves watching the game of which half was worse, and both halves against Eastern Michigan were terrible. But you think. You don't have to go far back to find bad halves. And then, you're thinking of the NKU debacle and the Nevada meltdown. And it's like UC fans have a lot of halves to choose from when you're, moaning about what the worst half of basketball they've played is. Unfortunately, there's some candidates.
I don't want to dwell on Alabama State too much. So we'll move past that, though, and get to Clemson as we kind of are there already. Day finishes with 17 in this one, 6-12 from the field. I thought he was about as good as you can get.
Oh my God, he was so hot there for a while, just so hot.
He was great. I almost wish he would have shot more,
right?
Truthfully, but Shauna Bayev, on the other hand, only 14 minutes played, 3 points, 1 of 5 from the field. Only 2 rebounds. He doesn't see much in the second half at all. Kirk Risa doesn't see the second half at all. He goes 0 for 1 in the game with 1 rebound and a turnover. No points. Baba came back to earth. 7 points, 2 of 7 from the field, 7 rebounds. Mustafa Cham, we saw a little bit more out of him, especially in that second half, asking for the ball down low, posting up.
He certainly played with more authority in that second half.
Making some moves. I hope that's something that he can build on because I want to see him more confident. I thought 15 was good. I think that he can do more, truthfully. But 5 rebounds should never be enough, especially when, I wonder if he's not trying so hard with the rebounding when Baba's out there because Baba's been a double-double machine at this point. But this one, Baba only has 7 rebounds, and between your 2 starting bigs who log 56 minutes of play, you've got 12 rebounds. That's not going to – that can't be good enough. No. Not if you want to win games.
No, one of those guys has to pick up the slack. And what Miller having against Clemson, 7?
Yeah.
Rebounds, yeah. So, he was at an okay level, but Chom certainly wasn't, and we've probably seen too much of that this season.
You have to have
size and that, you got to grab more boards. That's got
You
to
have
be
to
a
have
priority.
one of them has to be double digits.
Yep.
Or
I believe they're good enough.
Yeah, they're tall enough against anybody.
Right.
So, I mean, granted, I guess you had Halveen with 5, you had Buck with 4, you had Day with 4. That's okay, but you shouldn't have Buck and Day with one less than your 7'2", 7'3" center out there.
No, he's got to do better than that. But again, I think, and I don't know what he was rebounding wise in that second half, but he certainly played more aggressive, I thought, in that second half than I've seen him play all year.
Yeah, he was down on the block, begging for the ball, getting it inside, making some moves. We were, I think, all probably happy to see him making that leap because it felt like a leap for what he's done thus far offensively.
Right. And those are the things I think, he's more than capable of. And we've been begging for it. And hopefully he builds off of that. Hopefully, he's in a good spot and comfortable where he can put that to use and make that more of a habit than an aberration like it feels like right now. Because we've been waiting for that. We have been waiting for that.
Yeah. Now, the problem with this game against Clemson is you came out firing threes. You were missing threes. You weren't doing anything to even get it down low. Again, we saw Chom asking for it down low later on. That's one of the things that worked well against Alabama State is the fact that you just kept driving. I don't know why they got away from it and just started playing three ball. That's also what brought them back into the game against Clemson is they started playing in transition. They started getting the ball down low and kicking it back out and doing things with it. That's on coaching, right? Like you can't just leave these dudes in there chucking threes and think that it's okay for you don't score for 6.5 minutes in this game. You have 11 points with the score was disgusting the first half.
Yeah, well, it was at one point, was it 38-11 at one point?
Yeah, 38-11, down 27
to nothing, I think, out of the gate, something like that. Yeah, it was terrible. I mean, I had to keep turning back over to the Bengals game in that first half to get like some good feelings again because I would watch that and I'm like, oh my God, I told myself, I wouldn't get upset watching the Bearcats game. No matter what happens, I will not get upset. Well, 38-11, you're going to get a little mad. And it's like my blood pressure's rising. So I had to turn back over to the Bengals and get the blood pressure down a little bit so I could turn it back to the basketball and let it go back up again. So that was, thank God the Bengals were rolling in Miami. But does it feel like to you that what happened at halftime and the way they played in that second half and who played in that second half? Now, granted, you didn't have Jizzle James earlier in the season, but doesn't it feel like some of this stuff should have happened a month ago?
Well, it feels like, truthfully, it feels like this entire season has been reactionary than proactive. And it feels like the reactions have been almost a half too late, a game too late when they're making these reactions. By the time they actually process and are able to, it doesn't feel like they can do that this staff is capable of doing anything to counterpunch on the fly. It doesn't feel like they can. I don't know if it's game plan or if it's simply making in-game adjustments. Whatever the case is, something is very broken with this staff.
I feel the same way.
And the product that they're putting out there. And when you have more men on staff right now than you've had at any point in time in Cincinnati's history, I don't know how we don't have somebody who can put together a game plan and or figure out in-game adjustments. The offense is so broken. I still don't know what the identity of this team is.
No, No, you don't. You don't. And you know, I just feel like I'm not smart. I'm not a basketball coach, but I feel like I thought shot selection, especially for the freshmen, but shot selection for him and Creasa was lacking a long time ago.
You talking about
Um,
Abayev?
yes.
Yeah.
And I feel like shot selection from the get go with him was very suspect. And it's like, this is a freshman coming in and playing his first basketball at the collegiate level. And it just felt like he had the green light to do whatever the heck he wanted to do, shoot it whenever he wanted to shoot it, from wherever he wanted to shoot it. And if he didn't feel like driving, he didn't have to drive. He could just throw another fadeaway three. And it's like, that's been going on since the beginning of the season. And it shouldn't take till the end of December to finally, get the lasso out and rope him and tie him up like a calf. It's like breaking in a Bronco. And you've got to get them, doing the right things, because it not just helps the team, it helps him and makes him a better player and a better decision.
I know Chad mentioned something that somebody had said who was at the game. I don't know if it was on the boards or if it was in his mentions on Twitter or whatever. But he had mentioned that he was doing either something with his arm or hand. I believe it was his arm on the sidelines in that second half. So maybe that's why he was pulled out. Maybe it honestly had nothing to do with his shot selection. That's even more concerning.
Would that shock me? No, because
that's even more concerning.
Right. Nothing has happened to this point. And I thought, I felt like early on, and maybe the stats don't bear this out, but I felt like Creasa made a lot of just not bright passes, trying to make these spectacular plays and, behind the back or this or that. And sometimes they are great passes when they work.
Sure.
But sometimes when you're throwing that pass to, Chum or Zella or someone like that, they're not going to be able to handle it 99 times out of 100 when you do this stuff. So you're spinning your wheels there. And I felt like that's something that should have been reined in a while back. And, you miss a couple of threes. Maybe it's not your night. Let's find the guy who's got it going and not keep chucking threes. And I know that's the way the game's going, with a lot of threes, and that's okay when they're open and they're in rhythm, and maybe that's the point of your offense, but it just feels like they just chuck it.
I agree. Again, I think that gets back to the fact that I don't know what the identity of this team is, and it's maddening to see them go out there every game as a fan when you feel like there's nothing going in this team's favor that feels like gives them an edge, gives them, especially against a team that's another Power 4 opponent. Right now, I don't know how many games that they win. I know I wasn't really joking when I said that I think that they win 3 games in conference play.
Right.
I think that's realistic.
I put my total at 5, but that was before that was after the EMU game or the Xavier game. I said 5, but then I really started worrying that 5 was way too high after a couple more games. That's it's unfortunate, but think about that. If they only get down 28-11 before they fall out of bed, you got a good chance to win that game if you play, with the urgency they played with.
Sure.
From that point on. I mean, it drives me nuts. It's like there are opportunities to win these games. However, maybe some moves should have been made earlier in that game after, I don't know what they do, miss their first how many shots. It was awful. The beginning of that game was awful. And I think I would have had a timeout and butts on seats probably 2 minutes into that thing.
I'm not saying that you need to go completely like full Mick Cronin and pick apart a player or a position group on your team and completely denigrate them at the mic. But I do think it's okay to stop saying things like, we have plenty to be thankful for at the mic, or saying things like, we've shown that this team's going to be good this year. No, sir, you haven't.
the bottom line is winning. And when you're losing games they lost, you who's going to believe that you're going to be a great team and that you're seeing the makings of a great team when you're dropping the games they dropped?
None of this feels like a coach who's coaching with any type of urgency that his job is on the line. And none of the stuff he's saying at the mic is anything more to me at this point than smoke up my ass. That's literally all it is. And if it's not up mine, then it's
You're
smoke
in
up
a bad spot, but I get it.
then it's smoke up your player's ass, because what you're saying is bullshit. We see the product that you're putting out there night in and night out, and it's not been good.
Well, and I go back to that Louisville game too, and I swear to God, I felt like if UC would have been better coached in that game, they win that game. And I was really mad about that. And I know, you probably felt okay about it because that's a top 10 team and they hung in there and they had a chance to win. I felt like they should have won that game. And I don't know that I got that kind of message from Wes that he felt like they should have won that game. It almost felt like, hey, we're fine because we hung with the number 6 team in the country. You should have won the damn thing. The way the game was played and what was going on that night and how things unfolded, you should have won the game.
Correct.
That's how I felt.
I don't know, man. It seems to me that when you have not beat a single opponent who is worth a shit outside of Dayton in your non-con, and you are going up against arguably the best conference in the country, none of this feels good. And I don't know who you're trying to fool at this point. I don't know what your plan is. You can't feel good about any of this. Stop trying to pretend that everything's okay. It's not okay.
No, it's not okay. And I don't expect him to maybe quite say it like that, but he's got to be more of a realist about this situation. And I don't want him to sit there and say, hey, I know my ass is going to get fired at the end of this thing, but I do want to hear a little more real assessment of where this team is, and it's not in a good spot.
No. I don't know. I don't have anything good to say about the basketball team right now. It's hard to draw this because they're very different situations, but this feels about as bad a situation as like when Wes got here and there was nobody on the roster. It feels about as bad a situation as the worst lows of John Brannon when he was here. It feels as bad a situation as I can remember. And I think it's probably even more frustrating because you feel like you do have talent on this roster. You just feel like it's right now untapped and being used incorrectly.
Well, yeah, and then you wonder, and I know last year there were problems, but they had it cooking pretty good in the non-conference and had a good non-conference record and carried that into the conference. And then all of a sudden, for whatever reason, they couldn't shoot. But I think that's a team that could have probably won more games if things were a little different in the coaching seat, because that team had some talent.
Well, it makes you wonder what, since Mick's been gone, you could insert any season right now into that same sentence and probably be accurate.
Yeah, and I want to go back and just correct, because maybe last season also got derailed because of the Jizzle situation, all that too.
Maybe.
I don't know how much of that played into that, and so it may be unfair to well, it's not unfair to expect more out of them than what they got out of last year, but there may have been a lot more going on that we didn't know, and that might explain why things got off the tracks a little bit. But that season derailed in a hurry too.
So who do you expect the starting five to be when they tip off on the 29th, next Monday?
I don't know.
Because Coach did allude that some changes are coming, and I think that's okay because you do have Kirk Creasy, who's not been playing well. We all know, we've already hit on that topic. I don't know that you can start him back out there. And I think it's okay to push him to be better.
I
Let him
think
know
you
that.
go Jizzle, Day, Buck, Harris, Chom.
Yeah.
That's what I would do.
Buck Baba Chom.
Yeah.
You said
And
Buck.
Buck's got to start making some of these layups, man. I mean, he killed me in the X game, and he had one, and I know he got fouled, but he's going in for that layup, and it looked like he could have made it. I think that was in the first half. I can't remember. And then proceeds to miss both free throws. And it's like, damn it. I mean, you just can't have that at this level.
Yeah.
But other than that, he made up for it. But still, that just hurt. It breaks my heart when what could have been a 3-point play, you'd settle for 2. You'd like to at least get 1, but it was a 0-point play.
It'll be very interesting to see what the rotations look like in the next game, what the minutes and all of that look like, what the starters look like, because I think that if he wasn't already coaching as if this was going to be his last game, I mean, Wes Miller is on about as hot a seat as I can remember for a coach at Cincinnati. I don't even know that John Brandon's seat was ever this hot when he was here. I think that things just went south very quickly. It wasn't just a slow build. This has been a slow build to where that seat is red hot, and I don't know that anything's going to put that out.
No, and the thing is, we're in an era now where you can turn it around pretty quickly. Given the state of what transfers and all that are, you can turn it around quickly. So you just got to find the right guy, and that begins with a guy who knows X's and O's and can coach and get this thing going, because what we're seeing isn't getting it going. It's just not working. And I want to bring up something else that popped in my head that I've said over the past couple of games I've been watching, and we were talking about Chom's second half. I wonder if he's motivated a little bit, because if Zella continues to improve from what he's come from to where he is, I mean, that dude's looking like a potential man next year if he continues to improve. Am I crazy? And do you think him lighting a spark inside when he gets in that game maybe puts a little needle in Chom's ass?
Well, if Zella could have an offensive game, I think that's the difference right now between a guy who's high energy. Again, we talk about those rebounds. Zella had 5 rebounds in his 14 minutes played. Chom had 5 rebounds in his 26 minutes.
He runs the floor well. He's a big dude. He does have to get more comfortable down there on that offensive end, but God, he makes some stuff happen.
He's high energy. It's kind of like
Christ. I'm shocked after when I saw him in the first game last year. I'm like, oh my God, project with a capital P. Well, and we rip on the coaching staff and stuff, but somebody's done a good job with that dude.
Yeah, he's developed. There's no doubt about that. I don't know. I don't know. I think it's probably a leap to think that Chom feels that he's threatened by Zella right now.
Probably
for a lot of reasons. Most of which is his big man coach came with him from UCF. He's making way more money. I don't know how much he's making, but I gotta assume that it's way more money than Zella's making. And he can give you something offensively, even if it's not being tapped into nearly enough.
The guy that you're supposed to be better than is putting that out there. You know what I'm saying?
I hear you.
I'm not saying he's better right now or any of that, but he is making the most of his minutes, and I like guys like that. Yeah. I like a big 7-footer that gets on the floor and dives after the ball.
Well, let's switch topics because we do have some other things to get to tonight. The Bearcats bowl game is quickly approaching, January 2nd, not all that far away. Today, the Two Deep came out from the media stuff for the Liberty Bowl. I'm just going to run down the list real quick here, George.
Okay.
Brady Lichtenberg, QB1, Samaj Jones, QB2, Evan Pryor or Manny Covey or Zion Johnson at running back. That one's a little interesting. Not sure what's going on with Evan Pryor, if he's coming back, if he's leaving and entering the portal. Doesn't sound like the staff is real sure either, as you got 3 oars right there. So we'll see what that looks like come game time. Wide receiver, Jeff Caldwell or Noah Jennings, Cyrus Allen or Isaiah Johnson, Caleb Goody or Barry Jackson. Then you got Joe Royer, who will be playing, Patrick Gerd backing him up. Then left tackle Joe Cotton, backed up by Nolan Latalipe. Left guard Evan Tengestal with Xavier Lozowicki backing him up. Gavin Gerhardt with Tarantayo backing him up. Tarantayo with Jake Wheelock backing him up at right guard. Right tackle DeAndre Buford with Judea Milan backing him up. So your entire line coming back. Your receiving core largely intact. Tight end still coming back. You're basically just missing Brendan Sorsby and Tawi Walker. I'm excited to see what Brady Lichtenberg can do. I feel that you made the right move, making sure you started him. He's put so much into this program over the course of his career. He finishes it out as a senior. He could have gone anywhere he wanted within reason. Probably started at any of your MAC schools or anything like that. So I'm happy the kid's getting a start in this one.
Without a doubt. And you want to do what's best for the team, and you've constantly got to keep looking forward. And I would get it if they didn't do that. But if there was ever someone who earned something like this, and I think these dudes are going to rally around him. I have a little different feeling about this game now, especially if all those guys you said in that 2 deep are going to play. I think they're going to rally around this guy. I'm kind of excited to see what this looks like. I know this isn't a great team, but the fact that offensive line is coming back and the guys that have committed the next year to come back, that's a good start on the off season. And I know they got a lot of work to do, and I don't expect them to turn it around and be next year's Indiana. But there's something going on here, and maybe they're retaining guys that don't have other opportunities. I don't believe that. I certainly don't believe that with these offensive linemen. But there's something about what's going on here that is keeping guys in place that surprises me a little bit.
Well, then on defense, you've got Marquez Parker at defensive end, backed up by Rob Jackson. You've got Isaiah Rogers at defensive tackle, so no Dante Corleone. He'll be sitting this one out, getting ready for the NFL draft, with Elijah Gunn backing him up. Jalen Hunt at the other defensive end with Jalen White McLean backing him up. Then things get a little interesting. You've got Jonathan Thompson or Simeon Coleman at the will. You've got Jack Dingle backed up by Brian Sims at the mic. You've got Jake Golday backed up by Monte Whedon at the Sam, and you've got a 4th linebacker, the dog position, Brian Sims getting the start there, and Daryl Gibson backing him up. So you're running a 3-4 against Navy, it seems. Then at corner, you've got Matthew McDoom. He's going to be playing in the bowl game as a senior, backed up by true freshman Jamari Johnson. You've got true freshman C.J. Jones starting at one safety spot, backed up by Marcavius Sabor. You've got Antoine Peak Jr. Starting at the other safety spot, backed up by true freshman C.J. Crite. And you've got redshirt freshman Daniel James, backed up by true freshman Patrick Williams at your other cornerback spot. A lot of youth in that backfield, George. What do you make of the 3-4, and then what do you make of the youth movement on the defense?
Well, we figured they had to do something, right?
Yeah.
You're playing Navy. You got to do something. You have to acknowledge what they do, because that's all they do, and they do it very well. So yeah, it shows a little flexibility in this, coaching staff, and I hope it works, and I hope it works so well that they change the whole scheme to that. Because I really and I know it still only gives you 3 down linemen, but at least you have that linebacker and dedicated kind of to the line of scrimmage. So there's just because of the way they played this year. I just feel like they need more help up front. And then when you've got DBs that, you know, probably can't cover well enough to begin with, but when you're asking them to cover for another couple of seconds or 3 seconds or 5, then it really gets bad. So yeah, I give them kudos for making this move and at least acknowledging, hey, if we're going to play in this bowl game, let's try to win it, and let's come up with something that's, you know, going to slow this this option offense down. So I'm glad they did it. I wonder, did they have to announce all that? I guess they probably did, um, but they may have some other tricks to spring on them too. I don't know, but I'm glad that they're at least looking at different things in different ways to make the magic.
I don't know if they had to announce it. It was just in the media guide. So it's whatever. I mean, Navy will get to prepare accordingly. But you had to safely assume they were going to do something. Maybe we see some different looks even out of that 3-4.
Probably
Playing more guys in the box one way or the other.
right.
Right. So it'll certainly be interesting. I'm excited to see some of the younger guys, especially. I guess it is a knock. I can't say it's not a knock on the guys who aren't going to be playing in this one, but there was so much of the same this last season from the secondary where no one can turn their head around on defense. You're not making a play on the ball at any point in time. Maybe we get to see some of that. Maybe it's not been trained out of these guys to turn around and make a play on the ball, because I can't imagine that that's the way that all of these guys happened to play when they were in high school. They would have had to have turnovers in high school to get to this level, right? Especially at cornerback. So I don't know.
I don't know. I can't. And, you know, there have been different position coaches too. And we've kind of seen, I don't know what's going on there because I've never seen that as consistent year after year as what I've seen this program do for the past, whatever, 3 years or whatever.
3 years. Yeah. It's not even just right.
It's so bizarre because you can't play that way.
It's crazy.
I know. I'm really surprised that, and I know they, you know, they had that whole bend but don't break thing, but good God, you got to look for the ball when it's in the air, and you got to know it's coming your way so you can make the play. You can't just run into a guy or just, you know, take a blind leap of faith and try to knock it down with your back to the quarterback and hope you time. I mean, none of it makes sense to me, but
right.
Hopefully we don't see that in this bowl game. And
hopefully not.
And I would think Samaj Jones will get a little bit of time somewhere, right?
I would agree.
Work him in at some point and let him get some snaps and get him moving a little bit. But yeah, I'm intrigued now, and I've got more reason to watch this thing than what I had a week ago.
Fair enough. We'll see if there's any other developments there with any of the players or anybody coming, leaving, who's maybe staying for the bowl game and then bouncing immediately thereafter as the portal opens very quickly.
Right.
After the bowl game. So,
and nothing's, I mean, you know, nothing's a given, nothing. You have no idea. It is so nuts. It is so wild, wild west.
So we'll see how that plays out. But outside of that, we said earlier, the Bengals, the fact that you were switching games to the Bengals because it was a breath of fresh air from the Bearcats basketball game. How things have changed. Bengals win. They thump the Miami Dolphins 45-21. Joe Burrow goes 25 of 32 for 309 yards, 4 touchdowns. The run game does okay. 26 carries as a team for 105 yards, 2 touchdowns. Chase Brown, though, he had a game. He has 12 carries, 66 for a touchdown, and also 4 catches, 43 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jamar Chase also 9 catches, 109 yards. T did play in this one after, again, having concussion issues. I don't know. The defense continues to, and granted, it was against Quinn Ewers, but we have seen far too often over the course of, it feels like the last 20 years or so. Anytime there's a rookie quarterback getting his first start against the Cincinnati Bengals, it usually goes really well for that quarterback.
Yes, it does.
On Sunday, it did not.
No, especially in that third quarter. But yes, it did not. I was glad when you started the show and you touched on the Bengals and you kind of dismissed the win, because for the last 48 hours now, I've been listening to people and they're walking around like the Bengals just did something great. And they did have a good day.
Sure.
They did have a good game, but people are walking around now. It's like a week ago, they wanted Duke Tobin hung on Fountain Square right now. I haven't heard his name for 48 hours. Like it's one win over a Dolphins team a week after you were shut out.
You've seen the billboard, right?
Like this is, huh?
You've seen the billboard, right?
Yeah. But people on the radio and everywhere else, I'm listening, and they're talking like, hey, this is great. Hey, the sun's out today. The Bengals won. Blah, blah. Okay, the season's over. And they've got a team that should be in the playoffs.
In case you are listening, don't know what billboard we're talking about, a fan went and made a billboard, paid for it out of his own pocket with, I think it was crowdsourced, but regardless, says, fire Zach. Next line, fire Duke. Next line, save Burrow. Apparently it's been updated. I believe that this to be real. Maybe it's a second billboard. I'm not entirely sure.
No.
But there's another billboard where I believe it now says. I'll get back to that. I have to find that here real quick. But you see a billboard like this. It's not the first time that you've seen a billboard while covering the Bengals.
No. I mean, they did the same thing to Marvin. They did the same thing. Obviously, Mike Brown every other year gets that.
Oh, here it is. Be owners. This is the new billboard. Be owners. Hire a GM. Save Burrow. That's the new one.
Okay, well, I do think they need some help there, and that's not really a knock on Duke. You know, they just don't run it quite the way other teams do, and I think that definitely has set them back, and I think it's set them back for a long time. And you know, it's crazy. I was driving across the bridge and saw their bubble, and it's like I'm driving by that, and for some reason it just flashed in my head. Think about 3 years ago in football in Cincinnati. And how great it was. Wasn't that 3 years ago?
21.
Was it the 21 season, 22? Okay, so 4 years ago.
Yeah.
4 years ago.
I think it was.
Seems like an eternity, doesn't it?
Well, you haven't. This will be the third straight season you haven't made the playoffs.
Right.
Was it the 21 season or the 20 season in the 21 Super Bowl?
I thought it was, because I thought it was the same for the Bearcats too. They went the same year.
Yeah, I don't know. And it I don't want to get lost in that, but yes, it's
no,
like what it's like what people say though, where like don't take the good old days for granted until you're no longer in the good old days or something.
Exactly.
Along that.
You can't. I mean, it can turn in a hurry, and it did here.
Man,
that's what I was thinking. I'm like, how is that possible that this has happened that way? But that's where we're at. But you know, Sunday's game in and of itself it was fun to watch that third quarter. And you know, Chase Brown had 3 touchdowns, all 3 of his touchdowns in that third quarter. The Bengals had essentially 4 turnovers because there were 2 interceptions, the fumble recovery, and the turnover on downs. So all that happened in the third quarter for that Bengals defense, which, you know, credit to the defense too. I mean, you know, it wasn't like they were horrible against Baltimore. The offense certainly was, but they made some opportunistic plays there and had some, you know, they had some changes in that defensive backfield. And, you know, Jalen Davis came out and played pretty damn well. And I'm not saying he's the answer. Dax Hill outside had a great game. They played pretty well. and all against a quarterback making his first start, which maybe that's why they played so well.
Well, but you
It's
still
certainly made for one good game, but it doesn't change what's going on here. What's going on here is you have a damn good football team that can't find its way in the playoffs.
there is that. You saw Barrett Carter with an interception as well. Jordan Battle, I thought he played really well in this one. Miles Murphy continues to show why he was a first rounder. Finally, continuing to he's starting to stack games. Finally,
Right.
He's in the third year of his career, I believe.
Yep.
And finally stacking days. You've seen flashes more so in the second half of the season than in the first half of the season from both Demetrius Knight and Barrett Carter to think that maybe they'll be serviceable linebackers next season.
Right.
They both. You should never put a rookie linebacker next to another rookie linebacker and think that your linebacking core is going to work out without more than your fair share of lumps. It's been
a
train
wreck. Future Hall of Famers. No, you can't.
Train wreck of a decision by the staff to put two rookie linebackers out there next to each other for an entire season. But that's where we're at. That's the staff that Al Golden was given. I am curious to see what his defense looks like with two linebackers who aren't rookies. Maybe it looks better. Maybe.
I think it has to, and I do share your optimism that they have played better as the season has gone along. And there's been blips. There have been blips, but
yes,
they're starting to make some plays. They're starting to make plays you notice, and that's a good thing.
I'm not. Trust me, I'm not putting the cart before the horse on any of this.
No,
but I think the Keyshawn Williams signing is a little interesting as he's already out there making your kick returns. He averages 25.3 in this one. He even gets a rush in this one, albeit for a yard. But they're trying to just find playmakers any way that they can, and that looks like them not sitting on their laurels. He was also out there and had a 26-yard punt return. So he had over 100 all-purpose yards on the day in his first day as a Bengal. But they did everything right. You can finish up the season on a high note. I guess my question would be for what? I don't know.
Well, for
Zach Taylor's job, I guess.
If you think the Dolphins are having a bad year, look at these two teams coming up.
Yeah, well, and that's what this was supposed to be, though. If you could get any of the teams that were worth a shit before we got to this point, you'd be playing for something right now.
Exactly.
You got the Steelers out here punching fans, and we can't figure out how to win.
I know. Well, they had the Bears beat, and the Bears, by the way, have the most improbable wins this season of any NFL team by far.
Yes.
And the Bengals kind of kick-started them, I'm afraid. But that game should have been in the win column.
The Bengals just passed the baton because they had some improbable wins themselves before they lost to the Bears.
Yeah, they did pass the baton. Yeah, I mean, the Jacksonville game, that last minute drive by Jake Browning, and the Bengals are 2-0, and he dives into the end zone. And boy, those were the days. God, it looked like it was going to be a good season then.
Ugh. But yeah, so the Cardinals are 3-12. We actually are surprising our boys and taking our 15 and 10-year-old to this game because we got dirt cheap 6th row tickets.
That'll be cool.
Yeah, first NFL game for these boys, so that should be fun.
They'll have a ball, and they should see a show by the Bengals. I
think you're right, but I don't know that either of them are Bengals fans because they have grown up around college football. So,
well, that's good sway them. They could get into the Houday spirit.
They also, one's very much a Chiefs fan, and the other one is just kind of I'm here to have a good time. So either way, a good time will be had by all.
Well, hopefully they see the light and become big Bengals fans and are destined for a fandom of disappointment.
That's not a light, George. That's a different.
Because we all
seeing the light.
by this stuff, and then it's like we're sitting here on December 23rd, 2 days before one of the greatest days of the year, and we're bitching about our football teams because that's what we do. We're
that
big.
light that you're talking about is while you're sitting on your football deathbed and you're seeing the light. That's the light you're talking about.
Oh boy, I know I am.
Anyway,
I'm running out of years for this damn team.
The only other thing I had to talk about tonight is the Reds are apparently engaged in talks right now trying to acquire Luis Robert from the Chicago White Sox. He's a name that continues. This seems like a tradition almost at this point, as this is the second straight offseason that he's been a name that's been kicked around. The difference is the Chicago White Sox didn't have a Japanese superstar coming in to take his spot last season as they do this season. Right. So are you putting any stock in Luis Robert? Has his stock dropped now because the Chicago White Sox won the bidding for his name evades me. I don't want to say it wrong. Japanese bopper,
right?
We'll call him.
Boy, I'll tell you, watch this guy play, and you think he is. I wish he hit for a little better average in it, but he does a lot of things.
You talking about the Japanese? Okay, no, Luis Robert. Yes.
I mean, this guy has got every tool in the box, and
he just can't put it all together at the same time.
No, we keep waiting for it, but still, what he gives you is not bad. I just wish he got on a little more and had a little better batting average and all that. But boy, he's got some pop. He's explosive, plays center field. And I don't want to pay him his salary. I think he's making $20 million a year or will be. But will the Sox eat some of that after they made this big deal to get, say they eat half of it? I don't know that they would, but if they would, then you're talking.
So the White Sox have had a issue similar to the Cincinnati Reds over the course of the last couple of years, is they have not been able to produce runs. The difference is the Reds have at least had pitching that's kept them in games, whereas the White Sox have struggled with pitching. And when they've had anybody that could pitch, they've traded them away.
Yes,
looking at you, Garrett Crochet. But I'm curious if Luis Robert is a reason for the offensive struggles or if he has been a byproduct because of the offensive struggles. Is he struggling because he's the only guy and there's no one surrounding him?
Right.
Or is he struggling because he's struggling and then the other people around him suffer because he's struggling? Or could it be both?
Yeah, and that's what the Reds have to figure out and settle on. And if they're convinced one way or the other, you make your move accordingly. But I mean, the Reds, they've got to get another bat. We all know that, at least.
Yeah.
And they've got to get someone that's got, that kind of power and that kind of, even though his home run numbers are big, I want to say the last several years, he's probably had like 400 or less at bats because of injuries or whatnot. And, you got Austin Hayes out there too, who you could bring back. Which would you rather have, Luis Robert?
Maybe. I don't know. I mean,
I think I probably would. I mean, Austin gives you better.
They both have injury issues.
Right. Yeah, they do. And
I ceiling.
What it's going to come down to? Here's what it's going to come down to.
How much will
the Mets are in on this stuff? And it's going to be whoever the Mets don't get, maybe the Reds do. That's what I think. Because the Mets will pay.
Sure.
Like maybe they won't eat as much of the salary for Robert. Or maybe they'll pay Hayes more than what the Reds want to. I don't know.
I don't want to see both of them back. I'll say that. Right. I also think that you probably need to make a decision on if you're bringing back Luis Andujar or not. I know that people have been talking about him. I know you were obviously waiting until you saw if you were going to make the move for Kyle Schwarber or not. But there's another name out there, and a guy that you could bring in at DH who's been in Cincinnati before. Now, maybe it was a weird parting of ways, but depending on if Philly would eat a majority of his contract or not, do you look for a rekindling of sorts with Nick Castellanos?
I wouldn't have a problem with it.
I
I
loved him
actually
when he
liked
was
him when he was here.
I agree.
I thought he made a difference.
He
And I don't
plays
think he was, because he can come off as a guy that like can be a,
Dick.
yeah. And sometimes that doesn't work in a clubhouse, but I didn't get that when he was here.
Well,
I felt
how
like
much
everyone understood, and he's a dick because he wants a win.
how much of that is because you're playing in Philly and Philly eats you alive?
Oh God, yeah. And it does.
So I
It does.
thought he was
If you hit on troubled waters.
yeah. I thought that he was welcomed in Cincinnati with open arms. I thought that the entire city was sad to see him leave. It
Yep.
felt like there was a very strange disconnect between the front office and Nick Castellanos on his way out the door, of which I will never know or understand unless there's a tell-all book that comes out someday about it. But I don't know. I think that it's worth at least kicking a tire or two and seeing if Philly's willing to eat, because I think he's another guy who's owed about 20 million. And if you can get them to eat anywhere between, I don't know, 15 and 17, because they're talking about just straight up cutting him. So if you don't want to do that,
right.
maybe you eat 15 to 17, and now you're talking right in the Reds ballpark.
Well, they would love that. That
Sure.
would probably be a no-brainer at that point. Seriously. I mean, does he make your team better?
Yeah.
I think so.
If it's between him and Andahar, I think it's a close toss-up.
That is a close toss.
But
Andahar, I thought, played really well for the
I agree. And if that's the other guy that you're looking at and potentially bringing back, depending on what he costs you, I think it's worth the conversation. But I think that those are two very interesting options to look at.
Yeah, those are. In addition to Hayes and Robert.
Right.
And you know what? I hate to say it, but it's going to be whoever's left. Whoever out of the musical chair of teams that pay, it's going to be who doesn't get the seat. That's who will be in Cincinnati. And honestly, any of those guys will make this a better team than standing pat. In my opinion.
That's the quiet part out loud I wasn't trying to say, George. Thanks for that.
Okay, but which one would you want out of those four?
Only one?
Yep.
Because I think you can probably get two.
List them in the order you would want them.
Well, I mean, one gives you a positional player, one gives you a DH. So if I had to pick one, I'm probably not taking the DH.
Right.
I'm probably taking the positional player. So at that point, we saw what Austin Hayes can do. He's okay. Right. I think the ceiling's higher for Luis Robert, so I'd probably take Luis Robert.
That's who I would take too. I think obviously I'm a fan of his, but man, when I was down there this past year when the White Sox were in town, that's an impressive dude. You just wait for him to put it all together, but as you said, injuries are an issue.
Then you have I would imagine Luis Robert in center field, TJ Friedel in left field, and Noel V. Marte in right field, with your DH being what's his name?
Which one?
The left fielder / first baseman that I can't think of his name. I don't know why I can't think of his name.
Deere?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
I completely blanked. I don't know.
It's because it's not baseball season.
It is not, and
they're not in the front load.
It is Christmas season, and I'm tired. And I wrapped presents until 2 a.m. last night.
How many did you get done?
I think we got 5, 7, 8 left. We're good.
How many did you get done?
I don't know, man. There's a lot.
30?
No, way more than that.
Really? Oh,
we got four kids, George.
You're out of my ballpark then.
Yeah.
I got about 16-20 done last night, and I thought that was good. You kicked my ass.
Well, there was two of us, so we're all right.
Oh, I was a one-man band, brother.
What's going on in high school basketball? And we'll get out of here.
Holiday tournaments going on, all that fun stuff. You still have who's undefeated, let's say. It's so early. We're talking 6-0, things like that. And there won't be much going on until after the holidays. Oh, LaSalle, Moeller, Lakota West, undefeated. Winton Woods. I think McNick's still undefeated. Beechwood, Holy Cross, Highlands, among the undefeateds in Northern Kentucky. But it's early, and I'll keep an eye on it after New Year because that's when it starts heating up in conference play.
Well, we got one more non-con on Monday, as we talked about, for the Bearcats against Lipscomb. That's the only game between now and the next time we do this show. But we will be back here next Tuesday talking all those Cincinnati sports once again. Thanks to the people who support us. They supported us all year, to Remington Tavern, to Cincy Light. Remington Tavern can be found at 8892 Glendale Milford Road, 45140, where they have their daily happy hour from 3 to 7 p.m., $5 bourbon whiskey Wednesdays, bottle cap bonanza Thursdays from 7 to 9 p.m. You can check them out on Instagram at RemingTavCincy or follow them on Facebook. Thanks to Cincy Light for sponsoring our studios. For George Vogel, I'm Aaron Smith. We wish you all a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, whatever holiday it is that you celebrate with you and yours during this time of year. But we will be back here next Tuesday at 9 o'clock to discuss all of your Cincinnati sports.
Thank you, Aaron.